Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a review for you of this little guy. This is the WE Knives Model 606. There's no other name to it, it's just the 606. First off, I want to thank my buddies Frankie and Bud from the Birdshot IV channel for sending this little guy along. Next thing, let's do a little size comparison here. The Ontario Rat number 1 here, and Ontario Rat number 2. So you can see here it's not a tiny knife, but it's not completely overwhelming either. Spyderco Delica, as usual. Oh, come on now. There you go, Delica, and what else is on the table here? ZT452CF. So, there you go. That's your size comparison, and actually, let's just jump into it and get to your good, your great, your bad, and your ugly of the WE Knives 606 here. Look, on the good side, this is a very nice little knife. I love, actually, to start with the WE logo. WE Knives has a very, very nice, very minimalist sort of logo, and they've done a good job of it. It's very pretty, it's very minimalist, and it's not huge, distracting, or ugly. They do a nice job of their branding overall. And the subtle addition of WE Knives underneath is really no problem. This is the kind of branding on a clip I can put up with any day of the week. And on the pivot screw here, again, it's kind of a nice thing. So no complaints there. Next thing, I'm actually a big fan of the combination of the carbon fiber and the anodized titanium here. I think it really does add a little something to the knife that could otherwise look a little bit plain, and it breaks up the purpliness of the knife overall. There's no problem with the purple, but it's nice to see a little bit of contrast in the same way that you get the two-tone contrast on the blade. So that's good. The lanyard hole on this guy is nicely done in that it's definitely there and it's definitely accessible, but it's done in a way that doesn't particularly harm the ergonomics, and in some ways actually helps the ergos a little bit. It fills the hand a little bit better with the lanyard hole extension, so to speak, down there than it would have otherwise, so that's nice. The clip on this guy is also very nice. It's got plenty of spring to it, yet at the same time it's sculpted and it fits the design overall. Just good job there. The price on this guy is $290. That's a good chunk of change, but honestly, I don't have much trouble with it. The action on the knife is very good. The fit and finish is overall pretty decent. There were some really nice touches like the grind, the blade, etc. I don't have any trouble with $290 on this guy. To be honest with you, I think it's fine. It's not a bad price. Next thing is that there are actually a bunch of options available. This guy is $290 with the purple and the carbon fiber. You can get it without the carbon fiber. It's just a solid titanium, which is preferable in some ways. We'll talk about that. But you also can get other colors. You can get gray, blue, etc. And usually with some sort of a two-tone color scheme. We is a big fan of that. So, that's kind of nice. It's not just this one model, which is nice. The design on this guy is actually relatively unique. I can't really think of a knife that looks a whole lot like this guy. They've got a bunch of unique little touches. The fuller here, the little eyelet, which is not necessarily, it's not a spidey hole. It's just kind of its own little thing. And then these carbon fiber panels really do make this kind of a distinctive knife, which I like very much, and which, is occasionally lacking from some of the knives coming out of China that are trying to do high-end with a good value. This is pretty damn unique. This is a WE knife through and through. And then finally, on the good side, the thing that could have very easily been the great here is the action. The action on this knife is just spectacular. It's got a really nice detent, and it's got a really nice fall shutty action. It's running on ceramic bearings. This is a great, great action. I love the action coming out of WE Knives lately, both on their mid-techs for other people and on their in-house stuff. WE Knives is very, very good at making an action that has a great detent and it's got a nice smooth closing. So the action on this is spectacular. I cannot complain about the action, and I'm really good at complaining about action. So that's the very best of the good, but like I said, on most other knives it would be the great. But anyways, that's what's good here. The action is just spot on. The design is pretty unique. There were lots of options available for colors and blade finishes and whatnot. The price isn't particularly bad, $290. Oh, okay, sure. The clip is very nice. It's got a nicely done lanyard hole. The combo of the carbon fiber and the titanium does have a nice effect, and I do like the WE logo still. Let's talk about what's great here. For me, the great part of this knife is actually going to be the blade here. And that's for a couple of reasons. First off, you can see it's got this really interesting grind, where, you've got one angle here, and then you've got this huge area where the bevel of the, effectively, of the sharpening, it's almost, I think there's a micro bevel on there, but this almost looks a zero ground for a big portion of it. It's pretty unique. You don't see this very often, especially in a production knife. And it's a very sharp grind. I mean, it is a very, very, very nice touch. And couple that with the kind of reflectivity of the finish on the blade. It's a very nice, I mean, you can see very easily some details reflected in it there, and that's nice. And you get a similar finish on the front of the blade here as well. The partially coated blade is actually pretty nice as well. I'm not a huge fan of blade coatings, but I think it's used very sparingly here, and it contrasts rather nicely with this silver overall. Having the coating in the filler and elsewhere is just, well, nice. The sharpening choil on it is nice. It's actually relatively thin behind the edge. I don't know if you can quite see that, but it is relatively thin behind the edge, at least down at this bottom portion here. Gets a little thicker towards the top, but again, it's got this huge bevel, so okay. And then, it's got a nice swedge on the top of it. I mean, even the fuller on this guy is neat. This little groove in here, I mean, sure, it's a fuller, it's going to catch whatever you're cutting. It's not going to be, but this isn't going to be, I don't know, I mean, it's a fine knife practicality-wise, but this is in many ways a design knife more than anything else, and so the filler isn't going to be a huge, huge deal on it. And frankly, even this little blade hole, which, by the way, is completely useless for any human purpose. I don't know what size human could get a finger in there or a thumb, but, it does add something. It does make the knife a little bit more unique and neat, so I'm not going to argue with it. I love the blade. The front of this knife is really, really neat. The back's pretty nice, too, but the front is just a freaking plus. Well done, we knives. So, to me at least, that's what's great here, is just great blade. Let's talk about what's bad. The bad side, a couple of nitpicks. First off, they're big fans of doing like purple and blue anodizations mixed with gold and whatnot. And unfortunately, I mean, it's nice, it's unique, it's different, but it can feel a little bit toy-like. And I feel that way again about this guy. I mean, the blade on this is very serious. It's a very nice-looking blade here. And then the handle of it is almost got a bit of a Fisher-Price sort of toy-like feel. It's not a terrible thing, and if you love the look of it, then carry this knife 100%, but it almost doesn't look like titanium. It doesn't look like, at least this part of it doesn't look like metal even. It's just, I don't know. So that's an aesthetic thing that's entirely a matter of taste, but it kind of gets to me a little tiny bit there. Some of the other models, though, don't have that feeling so much, so that's good. Next thing is that the fit and finish on this guy isn't quite, it's very good, but it's not perfect. For instance, there are some gaps between the back spacer and this little area up here. Centering on the knife is a little bit off. It's a bit better after I took it apart, but nonetheless, it's favoring the presentation side a little bit. The grind is a little bit asymmetrical, to the extent where if you flip it over, it's like, okay, there's slight differences here. It's not bad. And overall, the fit and finish is very, very nice, but those little fouls are a little unpleasant. I still don't tend to love fullers, and the blade hole, like I mentioned, is kind of vestigial. It doesn't need to be there anymore. But hey, it's a nice aesthetic touch. But really, all those four things are kind of nitpicky. The blade hole and the fuller are aesthetic things. Maybe you like them, maybe you don't, not a huge deal. The fit and finish is fine. I would be A-okay with this. I can live with the fit and finish all day of the week. And then the toy-like feeling is, well, honestly, it won't bug some people, and it's not even that bad for me. I would carry this knife without a whole lot of concern. If it weren't for the ugly, and you all know exactly where I'm going here. The ugly here are the stupid screws, and it's these little guys right here. We Knives puts these screws on every damn knife they make, and it's always ugly as heck. To be fair, they do include a little tool. It's a little keychain thing. You can see it's got little grooves in there. This tool did strip out, reassembling the 605, so I wouldn't trust the tool, but it did the trick for this disassembly, which is nice. But these stupid screws are bad in a bunch of ways. They're bad for disassembly because, well, not only are they just a bad design, design for screws and a bad design for a tool, but the thinnest part is the part that experiences the most torque down here at the edge. Which is, well, not a great plan. And they're titanium, which means they're softer, which means they're going to strip more easily. And here, they stick up above the carbon fiber. If you run your finger along here, you catch your hand on the freaking screws, which means that every time this is in your pocket, these screws are going to be digesting your wallet, which is dumb and ugly. And then it also forces the pivot to stick up a whole bunch on the side here. There is no good thing coming of these screws, even putting this assembly aside. I just don't know what We Knives people are on that make this seem like a good idea, because it's not like We needs a product differentiator or a nice design touch. Their designs are on point. They do something that's different all the damn time without using terrible screws. They're not breaking the mold or innovating because, well, they're not solving problems, they're creating them. It's definitely not a functional accommodation because it's a functional problem. And so every knife that We has could be made way better overnight just by using the screws that they're using for other people's mid-techs. We makes knives for other people using real screws, and you know what? Those knives are better. So they could do this very, very easily, yet for whatever reason they don't. And that's ugly. I don't know what they're on, but they need to get off it. Because right now, every time I see a new release from We Knives, it's like a listing for the affordable house of your dreams with a little asterisk underneath saying, "Caution, this home is built on a World War II era chemical munitions dump. You're probably going to be okay." Like, well, sure, yeah, you're probably going to be okay. But are you really going to buy the house? I mean, yeah, you're probably going to be fine with these screws. Your tool probably won't strip out. And, you know, it probably won't eat your wallet. Well, actually, it's going to eat your wallet. Let's just be real here. But still, why are you buying this freaking house when it's built on the chemical munitions dump that is this set of screws? I feel very strongly about this issue, and it really does bug me, but I really do think it's ugly, and I really do think that you should think twice before buying a knife from We until they fix that issue. But that's just my personal conclusion. Let's talk about the actual conclusions. The final conclusion here is that this is a very, very nice knife. It's got a great action. I mean, really, guys, the action on this is spectacular. It's very nicely built. It's got a blade that I just love a bunch of different aspects of, and I think it is really a spectacular showing. This is a great knife, and I think We is a company to watch. Now, that said, though, although I think it's earned it in most respects, I just can't call this a gem in good conscience with this glaring design flaw that is this set of screws. I mean, the stupid screws are always ugly, but here the prominence of them, especially on the carbon fiber, makes them a functional problem even if you don't ever intend to take the knife apart. And that's deeply ugly. If you get the all-titanium version, that issue disappears. These screws go away, but nonetheless, it's awful. And if We wants us to take them seriously as knife makers, they need to take us seriously as knife users and fix this problem, which isn't the problem that needs to have. But anyways, enough about the screws. I do really, really like this knife, and if that one big issue doesn't bother you, then I do highly recommend it. There's a whole lot of good here for the money that you're paying. It's a great flipper, and it is just overall a very, very nice knife. And I gotta say, I think that if We actually does fix their problem, they are going to go from being this weird little company with a big problem to being towards the front of the pack, if not at the front of the pack, because they do a great job making knives when they don't shoot them in the kneecaps immediately after. So, there you go. I hope this has been interesting to you. I do have a couple of strong opinions on the subject. I hope you noticed that. And I hope that We enjoyed this review. Actually, We probably didn't, but I hope that the royal We, everybody, you and I, definitely did. I sure did. And that you have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.